Welcome to Cursed TV, where shadows whisper and the night comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. Turn off the lights, relax, and let the stories begin. Story 1. This experience happened 3 months ago. It left me extremely shaken and mentally disturbed for weeks. I sought counseling and have been doing quite well with the support of friends and family. That is until today. Well, allow me to set the stage, and then I will refer to the recent turn of events. 2 months ago, I was on my way home from a friend of mine's house. He lives about 7.5 miles down the road, so it isn't a far drive at all. The area in which I live is dense and thick with tall trees. It can be quite an uneasy experience driving late at night. Anyway, as I was on my way home, I noticed how unusually foggy it was outside. The trees seemed to move in the distance, and everything had an odd haze over it. All of a sudden, my car made a loud shattering sound, similar to a gunshot. It began to shake manically and belched black, foul-smelling smoke out of the tailpipe. "Fuck!" I yelled to the trees. I had just recently had my car repaired, shelling out over $300. Now this bullshit? Not cool. As the car continued to roll forward, a house I had never noticed before seemed to appear through the fog. It was a small 2-story cottage, almost picturesque really, with a beautiful garden out front and a stone driveway. Oddly, my car finally came to a stop directly in front of the house. Although I didn't find it unusual at the time, I later recalled that although the house looked like it belonged in a storybook, there was something off about it. Like it was almost too beautiful, as if someone or something had been trying too hard. As I brought my phone out of sleep mode to call my friend and ask him to pick me up, I received a critically low battery notification. Honestly, this is bullshit, I yelled, flipping the bird to the air. I tried to complete the call before the phone died, but with no success. As I muttered obscenely while searching for my in-car charger, the lights in the fairy tale house suddenly all turned on. The house emanated a soft, warm glow, and I instantly felt my spirits lift. I decided to go and ask the occupants of the house to borrow their phone. I mean, with a house so beautiful, the people who dwelled within must be saints. I finished hooking up my phone to charge and got out of the car. As I walked towards the house, I felt myself giggle a little bit. I was so relieved to have broken down in such a nice spot. As I knocked on the door, I thought I smelt roses, but I was shaken out of that thought when the door opened. I was greeted by a small, elderly woman in a purple dress. Her long, white hair fell to her shoulders, and even though she was probably 70 years old, she was beautiful. "Why, hello, young man," she said in a soft voice. "What can I do for you?" "I apologize for the intrusion, ma'am," I said. "But you see, my car just broke down, and I was wondering if I could—" "Oh, say no more," the woman said, cutting me off. Come in," she waved me in and shuffled in the door. I was greeted by the smell of cinnamon and vanilla, and confirming my suspicions, roses. The smell of the roses overpowered my senses. It was almost overwhelming. The sound of classical music playing on an old Victrola set the mood of a seeming peaceful home. She gestured me into the kitchen, showing me the phone that was mounted on the wall. She walked out of the room to tend to some things while I made my call. I picked up the phone and made my call. "Zach?" I said, relieved. "Yo, James." "Wah." The phone suddenly went dead, completely dead. Suddenly, the record scratched as it ended, and the lights began to flicker. I felt every hair on the back of my neck stand up as I felt all the air go out of the room. There was something evil here. I immediately dropped the phone and made my way to the door. I called out to the woman wherever she was and thanked her for her help. I made my way back to the foyer and opened up the front door. But it wasn't the front door. Yes, it was the same area. But the door had somehow changed. Inside the room, there were teddy bears. They were on pedestals with spotlights directly above shining down on them. The bears were black and in brown and made of the softest satin. But the bears were in horrific positions, truly horrific. Some with their heads removed, some hanging from nooses, some with their appendages ripped off. The visible stuffing was dyed red, and by the metallic smell, I knew the dye was blood. Next to each bear was a photograph, framed and professionally matted. Each photograph was of a child or woman, and each child had its face crossed out with a red marker. There was one pedestal unoccupied, and my face was in the frame. I slammed the door shut and turned around, only to find the woman 2 feet away, with a rusted, blood-stained knife in her hand. "Just one left, my dear," she whispered. I did the only thing I thought of. I kicked her in the face as hard as I could. She flew through the air, twisting and contorting her body in midair like no human could, in a way that was almost cat-like. She landed on all fours and bared her teeth at me. I opened the door once more, attempting to trap the creature inside, and realized that the door had changed back. It was now normal. I saw the road and my car. I ran out the door as fast as I could. The creature chased me on all fours, growling gutturally. I ripped open the door and locked them all. I attempted to start the engine, and miraculously, it roared to life. I pulled out and made my way to my friend's house, which was only maybe 3 miles from my current location. Finally, the adrenaline began to wear off, and I started to hyperventilate. As manic tears fell, I ripped my phone out of the charger and dialed Zach. There was no dial tone, only the sound of wind whistling through trees. A raspy voice came through the speaker, and it was then that I began to scream. "No contact, my love." I threw the phone out the window and pressed the pedal to the floor. When I reached Zach's, I ran into his house, screaming at him to call the police, the army, whatever. He came downstairs yelling at me. But when he saw me dripping sweat, with bloodshot eyes and about to pass out, he immediately began to dial, yelling for his parents. I staggered over to his couch, fell on it, and abruptly passed out. When I came to, the police were there, asking me questions. I told them everything from start to finish. They immediately began to investigate. They found my phone that I had thrown into the woods, and they found the burnout marks where I had pulled out from in front of the house. But there was only one hole in my story. Apparently, there was no house there. There wasn't even property there, just more empty, barren woods. I was tested for hallucinatory drugs, psychologically evaluated, and took a lie detector test. They eventually came to the conclusion that I was mentally unstable. The only two who believed me were Zach and my mother. Sometimes I even doubt myself. Am I mentally unstable? Am I sick? Was it a dream, a nightmare, a spirit? Anyway, back to the recent events. I came home today from work feeling great. Therapy ended a week ago, and I was feeling fantastic. As I walked upstairs to my apartment, there was a lone rose on the metal railing. I immediately felt that same evil presence. As I turned to unlock my door, I began to scream once more. Staked to my door was another teddy bear. It was stabbed through the heart, and blood was dripping down my door. Where the blood had pooled on the ground, a message had been scrawled out. "My sweet, sweet boy, let's play again." Story 2. Transcript of Oakland Grove Police Department calls received on 3/12/2023 regarding the teddy bear abduction. 5:23 p.m., a young girl identifying herself as Emily Brown contacted the 911 operator, Jennifer Morton, to report being abducted by a man in a teddy bear costume. This transcript has been made available due to the poor audio quality of the call. The victim speaks in hushed tones and can often be difficult to understand. A recording is available upon request. "Noan, what's your emergency? Please help me. My name is Emily Brown, and a man in a bear costume from the park on Lover's Lane. I think he's going to kill me." "Okay. I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you try to speak up?" "I can't. He threw me in the back of a van, and I don't want him to hear me. It's loud back here, and Burkald windows are painted black. I tried opening the door, but it was locked." "Okay, sweetie, keep whispering. Do you know where he is taking you?" "No, I can't see out of the windows, and there is a metal wall between the back and the cab. It's completely dark in here. We've only been moving for a few minutes. Oh God, oh God, oh God. He's going to kill me." "Okay, we're going to send officers to the area around the park. Can you describe the suspect and the vehicle?" "He's a man wearing a filthy teddy bear costume with a big, creepy smile on his face. It looks like that bear that jumps out and scares you from the video game. I don't remember the name. Looks like one of those white vans that delivery drivers use. There were no stickers or anything. The windows are all covered with black paint. Okay, we have a description of the suspect and vehicle, Emily. Can you tell me anything else about him? I was just walking in the park to meet a friend. He was standing near a swing set and waved at me when I walked by. I waved back. He looked like he was there for a kid's birthday party or something. But then he started following me and calling out to me. He's got a really deep voice, and he kept saying things like, "You're going to be my little bear." All right, we have officers en route. Can you tell me anything else at all, Emily? I can hear the sound of other cars passing us. I think we're on the highway. Am I going to be okay? Please come get me. Just want to go home. I want my mom. Okay, stay on the line with me. We have officers at the park and others are being directed onto the highway. We'll do everything we can to get you out of there. Please hurry. He's going to kill me. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Okay, Emily, we have officers in the area looking for the suspect's vehicle. We are going to find you. Concentrate on the sound of my voice. Is there anything inside the van with you? Anything that could help us identify it? It's really dirty, and there are stuffed animals everywhere. I saw them for a second before he slammed the door. There's a weird smell like something's rotting. The floor is sticky. I think it may be blood. 911. Okay, we have a description of the van. Just hang in there, Emily. We're doing everything we can to find you. The van is starting to slow down. Oh shit, we're gonna stop soon. I'm gonna try and kick the window out. No, just stay quiet and be as calm as you can. Please, just... Audible thumping sounds coming from the caller's line, followed by a pounding noise. An inaudible male voice begins to yell in the background. The sound of a door opening is followed by screams and inaudible speech from the caller. 5:30 p.m., 5:25 p.m. A secondary 911 call, received by Deborah Jenkins, related to the abduction is received. A witness, identifying himself as Matthew Bowman of Oakland Grove, provides an eyewitness account of the abduction of Emily Brown. 911. What's your emergency? Yes, hello. I just witnessed something? Shit. I don't know. Maybe it was a joke. You know how kids do all that weird garbage now for TikTok videos? Sir, what is the nature of the emergency? Sorry, yeah. I was sitting on a bench at Lover's Lane Park. I saw a man dressed in a damn bear costume grab a young girl and force her into the back of a van. Is the van still there, sir? No. After the guy slammed the doors, he peeled out of the parking lot like a bat out of hell. Do you think this is some sort of video prank? I don't know, sir. Did you see what direction the van was headed? Yeah, sure. Fella took a left turn onto Fairview Avenue in the direction of the highway. Can't remember the road number. Can you give me a description of the girl and the man in the bear costume? The girl looked to be around 15 or 16 years old, with long brown hair and wearing a pink jacket. She was walking alone, and the bear guy started hollering at her. And the man in the bear costume? Can you describe anything about him? The man in the teddy bear costume was tall, over 6 feet, looked like. Could be skinny, could be fat. Hard to tell with that buffy damn bear costume. Looked like it hadn't been washed in months. Be patches of dark stains on it. Large smile on the mask. Creepy looking shit. Would have been in place in one of those haunted houses at a carnival. Okay, sir. We have units on the way to your location. Can you stay on the line with me and give me any additional information you may have? Yes, can do. I didn't see the license plate of the van, but it was a white panel van with windows on the sides. Too far away, though, to see inside. No stickers or logos or nothing on the outside. The man drove off very quickly, so I didn't get a chance to see anything else, really. I'm just really worried about that little girl now. More I talk about it, I don't think it was any kind of joke at all. Understood, sir. We'll do everything we can to find her. Can you tell me your name and contact information? Yes, my name is Maddie Bowman. Matthew. My number's redacted. Shit, that poor kid. I should have tried to help her. Thank you, Mr. Bowman. The police will be there shortly to speak with you. Please stay where you are until they arrive. Yes, I'll wait here. Please find that little girl. I'm really worried about her. I can't believe I just watched him take her. End call. The following transcript is a dispatch call made by Officer Joshua Bryan to the Oakland Grove Police Department on 3/14/2023. A statewide manhunt beginning on 3/12/2003 resulted in the tip leading Officer Bryan to the location of an abandoned 1998 Chevrolet Express van parked in a private timber lot. 11:29 a.m. Begin dispatch call. Officer. Dispatch, this is Officer Bryan. I'm calling in with a possible crime scene. Go ahead, Officer Bryan. What's your location and what's the situation? I'm on a private wooded lot near the intersection of Highway 41 and Beulah Farm Road. I've found an abandoned van parked 50 yards from the road behind a dense wood line. It's filled with what appears to be blood and stuffed animals. There is a broken Samsung Galaxy on the floor, also covered in what I believe to be blood. Copy that, Officer Bryan. Can you confirm if anyone is around or inside the vehicle? Negative. There's no one in sight. I've checked the immediate area and it's clear, but the amount of blood is substantial and it looks like there's been a struggle inside. There are footprints on the windows and streaks in the blood. It appears someone was pulled from the rear with force. Copy that. Please remain on the scene and secure the area. We'll send a crime scene unit and detectives your way as soon as possible. Understood, dispatch. I'm securing the scene now. Understood. Please stay safe and keep us updated on any developments. Copy that, dispatch. I'll be standing by. End dispatch call. Crime scene technicians were able to collect DNA samples from 4 unique individuals. The amount of blood located in the abandoned Chevrolet Express van was determined to be of an amount that subjects from samples number 1 to number 3 were unlikely to have survived. Sample number 1 was determined to match DNA from the toothbrush provided to the Oakland Grove Police Department by the parents of Emily Brown. Samples number 2 and number 3 were determined to belong to yet unidentified females. These samples are being cross-referenced with missing person cases in various jurisdictions throughout the region. Efforts are ongoing to identify unknown subjects. Sample number 4 was determined to belong to a yet unidentified male subject. The source of the DNA is considered a person of interest in the abduction of Emily Brown. Emily Brown or her remains have not been recovered. Investigative efforts are ongoing. Similar abductions attributed to a mysterious individual in animal costumes have been reported in locations throughout the East Coast and southern United States. Story. My little sister had gotten a giant teddy bear for Christmas, but she didn't want it, so I thought I might as well add it to the numerous pillows that lined my bed. I'm a very creative person, so I named the bear Teddy. It was massive, about half of my height, and it had light gray fur that was softer than alpaca wool. It was a few weeks ago when I first noticed something strange with the stuffed bear. My imagination would often run wild, so I assumed that nothing was amiss. Despite that, I couldn't help but notice how Teddy would always seem to be looking at me, watching my every move. Whenever I worked on my desk, I would periodically glance at my bed to see his black, beady eyes staring into the deepest depths of my soul. Sometimes I would even stare back. Teddy's irises were deeper than a bottomless pit. It seemed like I could get lost by simply looking at them. Whenever something like this happened, I would turn the bear 180 degrees so that its back would face me. Then I would glance backward again. Eventually, while I wasn't looking, Teddy would turn around completely, sending chills down my spine. It couldn't have been gravity, nor could it have been the wind. Nobody else was in my room either. My first thought was that Teddy was alive, but that was absurd. This isn't Toy Story. Besides, Teddy was harmless. It was a little creepy that he was always looking at me, but he never made any hostile moves. Even if he did, he was literally a teddy bear. What's he gonna do? Strangle me with his fluffiness? I could probably drop kick him to the moon. As long as he didn't body anyone, there wasn't any point in doing anything. One night, I woke up to find that a few of my pillows had fallen off my bed. I reclaimed them, but Teddy was missing. Ah, screw it, I thought. It was too much effort to turn on the lights, so I could just find him in the morning. It wasn't uncommon for my pillows to fall, and he probably just ended up somewhere I couldn't reach. And so, I drifted back into my peaceful slumber. Sure enough, Teddy was lying on the floor when I woke up in the morning. I let out a small giggle. There you are. And so, the day passed by as usual. When I went to bed that night, I woke up at around 1 a.m. again. None of my pillows had fallen except for Teddy. This time, I flicked my light switch and scanned my entire room, but he was nowhere to be found. What the heck? Where'd you go? I asked those two questions as if expecting a response from an inanimate object. With a sigh, I scratched my head and left my room to get a glass of water. My throat was drier than Death Valley. Before I could take a step into the kitchen, a muffled noise stopped me in my tracks. I sucked in a sharp breath that could have sliced my lungs if I weren't careful. After a few moments, the noise echoed again. It wasn't my overactive imagination. Naturally, I made the single most horrible decision that someone could make in a horror movie. I tiptoed toward the sound. Could you blame me? I was curious. Besides, chances were pretty low that a murderous monster was hiding in my house. I, for one, have never heard anybody encountering such a demon. Though, now that I think about it, it might just be survivorship bias. A dead person wouldn't be able to tell the tale of a murderous monster who broke into their house. It didn't take long for me to discover what made the noise earlier. It was my little sister. Her carrion red hair and green eyes were unmistakable, even in the darkness. She should have been asleep, but she was playing with Teddy in the living room. I must not have heard her thievish intrusion. Upon spotting me, my sister clutched Teddy into her stubby little arms and fled to her room. Go back to sleep. Geez. If you wanted Teddy so bad, you could have just asked. With a jaw-breaking yawn, I returned to my bedroom and got the rest of my shut-eye for the night. When my alarm woke me up, it felt as if gravity had tripled in the time I had been unconscious. Getting out of bed was usually the most difficult part of my day. I eventually dragged myself to the bathroom, where I emptied my bladder and splashed some water on my face. As much as I hated the frigid faucet, it did a good job of waking my mind. Hey, have you seen your sister? It came from my mom, who was standing outside my bathroom door. No, I replied. She was playing with Teddy in the middle of the night, but she ran back to her room when I saw her. What time was this? Maybe around 1 a.m. Why was she awake? I dunno. I just know that she stole Teddy and played with him for some reason. Weird. She's probably playing hide and seek or something. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. At that, my mom went back to searching. It's true that my sister had played these sorts of games before, but she was notorious for her terrible hiding places. She once tried to mimic a standing lamp by putting the shade over her head. The only good hiding spot she ever found was behind the curtains. Maybe she happened to have found somewhere impossible to uncover. Bernadetta! Where are you? Bernadetta! My parents spent the entire morning trying to find my sister, but they came up empty-handed. It was the same thing with me. I couldn't find her anywhere. It was almost as if she had vanished from thin air. When I checked my sister's room, I found Teddy staring at me once again. That cocky little bastard was mocking me, I swear. Understandably, my parents panicked. They didn't waste any time filing a missing person report. After all this effort spent searching, I was sure that my sister would reveal herself eventually, but that wasn't the case. She was gone. Because of the whole ordeal, I was late for school that day. No worries, though. I hadn't been tardy enough times to warrant any consequences. When I drove back home, my sister was still gone. My parents hadn't heard any news either. Out of instinct, I grabbed a kitchen knife and stomped into my sister's room. Sure enough, Teddy was still there. I stabbed the cursed pile of fluff 60 times and chopped off its head, creating a mound of stuffing all over the bed. Then I took every last piece and shoved them into the trash bin outside. Tomorrow was trash pickup day, so the garbage truck would soon collect Teddy and incinerate him. Could you call my act of murder insane? Maybe. Who goes around stabbing teddy bears? Well, me, apparently. It was a stupid idea in hindsight, but I wasn't thinking at the time. No matter what anybody tells me, I'm sure that bear had something to do with it. He did something to my sister. I know it. There was no way I was keeping that thing in my house. By the time I went to bed, a persistent nagging had kept me from falling asleep. Even if I slipped into unconsciousness, I would be plagued by nothing but nightmares. Maybe insomnia was a blessing in disguise. Suddenly, someone knocked on my door. "Who is it?" I asked. No answer. "Mom? Dad?" They usually got home pretty late, so they were probably checking on me. Another knock. "What do you guys want?" Silence. Then a third knock. "Sheesh," I muttered, taking off my covers. Then I froze. What if it wasn't my parents? But then, who could it be? They should be the only other people in the house. Unless, no, it couldn't have been Teddy. I chopped him to pieces. The garbage truck drivers were supposed to take him away the next morning. I retreated under my covers and waited. Damn my hyperactive imagination. This might just be a dream, for all I know. I recalled some tricks to find out if you were dreaming or not. Number 1, count your fingers. I still had 5. Number 2, inflict pain onto yourself. I pinched my cheek and instantly felt the sting. I wasn't dreaming. This was reality. By now, the knocks had stopped. I peeked my head out from my blanket and monitored the door. The knob turned, and my heart skipped a beat. The hinges wailed as the door swung open, revealing a diminutive figure. It lumbered into my room without a sound. Cowering under my sheets would do no good to protect myself. My best option was to fight, but still, I couldn't move. Sheer terror had trapped me like a coffin. After a few moments, the figure hopped onto my bed. It was close enough that I could finally discern what it was, a stuffed bear. It was about a third of Teddy's size, and it had red fur that matched the shade of a bloodied corpse. Worst of all, it had strikingly familiar emerald eyes. That was when I noticed another shadow next to me. There he was, sitting as still as a cadaver. Teddy. He met my gaze and said, "Won't you play with us?" Story 4.